Good morning, viewer. Welcome to our perspective. Here is the breaking news. Yes, one world leaders at the group of 2017 Bali, Indonesia issued a joint statement condemning Russia's war in Ukraine. A familiar sentence stood out from the 1186-page document. Today's era must not be of war, it said, echoing what Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi told Russian leader Vladimir Putin during a face-to-face meeting in last September. Media and officials in the country of 1.3 billion were quick to claim the inclusion as a sign that the world's largest democracy had played a vital role in bridging differences between an increasingly isolated Russia and the United States and its allies. How India united G20 on PM Modi's idea of peace ran a headline in the Times of India, the country's largest English language paper. The Prime Minister's message that this is not the era of war resonated very deeply across all the delegation and helped bridge the gap across different parties, India's Foreign Secretary Binay Kautra told reporters Wednesday. The declarations came as Indonesian President Joko Widodo handed over the G20 presidency to Modi, who will host the next Leaders Summit in the Indian capital, New Delhi, in September 2023, about 6 months before he is expected to head to the polls in the general elections and contest the country's top seat for a third time. On some accounts, India's presence at the G20 was overshadowed by the much anticipated meetings between Chinese leader Xi Jinping and US President Joe Biden and the scramble to investigate the killing of two Polish citizens after what Warsaw said was a Russian-made missile landed in a village near the NATO members' border with Ukraine. Modi, on the other hand, held a series of discussions with several world leaders, including newly appointed British Prime Minister Rishi Sunak, ranging from food security and environment to health and economic revival, steering largely clear of condemning Putin's aggression outright while continuing to distance his country from Russia. Since the start of the war, India has repeatedly called for the cessation of the violence in Ukraine, falling short of condemning Russia's invasion outright. As India prepares to assume the G20 presidency, all eyes are on Modi as he also begins his campaign for India's 2024 national election. Domestically, his Hindu nationalist Bharatiya Janata Party's populist politics have polarized the nation. While Modi remains immensely popular in a country where about 80% of the population is Hindu, his government has been repeatedly criticized for a clampdown on free speech and discriminatory policies towards minority groups. Amid those criticisms, Modi's political allies have been keen to push his international credentials, portraying him as a key player in the global order. The BJP is taking Modi's G20 meetings as a political meeting that he is bolstering India's image abroad and forging strong partnerships, said Singh from the Center for Policy Research. This week, India and Britain announced they are going ahead with a much anticipated UK-India Young Professionals Scheme, which will now 3,000 degree educated Indian nationals between 18 and 30 years old to live and work in the United Kingdom for up to 2 years. At the same time, Modi's Twitter showed a flurry of smiling photographs and video of the leader with his Western counterparts. His domestic image remains strong, Singh said, adding it remains to be seen whether Modi can keep up his careful balancing act as the war progresses. But I think his international standing comes from his domestic standing, and if that remains strong, then international audience is bound to respect him. VNS report for Sak TV.